Welcome back to the S&T Football Podcast. We are talking about the last game in the second round of the playoffs, the quarterfinals. We have the number 3 Georgia Bulldogs coming off their bye. Obviously, they won the SEC championship after slaughtering their arch nemesis, their kryptonite, the Alabama Crimson Tide, for the first time in, I don't know, 6 tries or something like that. So Georgia is riding some very good momentum right now. They have looked like their old selves, the old Georgia Bulldogs that we used to know, just basically dominating college football in total. So here they are, they're back, and number 3 going up against the number 6 Ole Miss Rebels. Of course, Ole Miss had a warm-up game themselves, kind of like Oregon did in the first round. That game against Tulane was not close at all. Absolutely obliterated them from start to finish. And it looks like Lane Kiffin not being there, no harm, no foul. So we'll see if Ole Miss goes up against Georgia and brings their same kind of game they brought last week as well. This is a rematch from earlier on in the season. Ole Miss and Georgia got together and they had a shootout, 43-35, and Georgia ended up coming back in the fourth quarter and winning that game. So a rematch between two really good teams, and I can't wait. Tom, take it away.
Yeah, battle of the SEC here. Georgia being the big dog this year, winning the SEC championship, really handling Alabama. And Ole Miss, boy, they have had a season. They've had a story season. So Lane Kiffin leaving, but they still have everybody else pretty much. It's basically the same Ole Miss, just no head coach. Um, Ole Miss did the same thing they did to Tulane in the first round that they did early in the season. Georgia, throughout the season, close games all throughout, but except against Alabama, really, Alabama was their best win, which to me, that's a good sign. Again, we've talked about that. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I keep beating the same old dead horse. Only thing that Georgia has against them this game is that they didn't get to play in the first round, and Ole Miss got a nice tune-up game. And Ole Miss took full opportunity. Jesus, can I talk? Ole Miss took full opportunity of their warm-up game against Tulane, beat them 41-10, basically the same score as when they played them the first time. And I will say, usually I'm an Ole Miss doubter, not a hater, but I'm a doubter. Because same with Penn State, I'm a Penn State doubter. I'm not a hater, but I'm a doubter. I'm not sure. We'll see. They did beat Tulane 41-10, but I think any other team in the first round would have beat Tulane 41-10, if not worse. So going up against Georgia, I think they have a good advantage with the warm-up game, and it's also the Sugar Bowl. So both teams are going to be relatively close, but it is going to be more of a home game for Georgia as well. So, unfortunately for Ole Miss fans, if you're listening, I'm going to take Georgia by a lot. I think Georgia shows up to this game rested, well coached. I think Georgia might be the best team in the league to take a bye week and actually use it to benefit themselves. In 2 weeks, I might be sitting here taking it, eating my own words and saying I was wrong, but until I get proven wrong, I think Georgia wins by 14 or more. Like this is probably my favorite bet in this round. Like I think actually I'm like this is a game that I actually do plan on betting on. The other ones I have no idea. But I do believe Georgia by 14 plus, and the spread is only -6.5 right now. I bet the spread grows and grows and grows up until the game starts to like 13.5. Like I would not be surprised at all. I just really do think Georgia's going to show up to this game. They know how to win, but now they're fully rested. They've got to watch film on Ole Miss. Ole Miss doesn't have their head coach. I mean, This if Ole Miss somehow wins this game, I'd it, it's like we might as well keep letting the group of five in because this is to me this is going to be that big of an upset. Like if Ole Miss beats Georgia, I will be absolutely shocked. And now I know you feel differently, Saison, so I will let you tell your side of, or I'll let you say your piece on this matter.
Well, you spoiled the surprise, Tom. I was going to say, I am going to take a opposing stance to you on this game, Tom, but you let the people know how I felt already. Yes. So I hear everything you say, and it makes sense. It makes sense, and I don't necessarily disagree. I see it from a different perspective. So I think Ole Miss is going to win this game. Now, this game could go either way. This is definitely the most 50-50 game in the first round, I would say. This game could go either way for sure.
Second round, second round.
Or yeah, second round. Excuse me, second round. Um, I think Ole Miss is going to win, and I think this because I go back to the first matchup during the regular season. This game was a really good one. Back and forth, basically throughout the game. Both of these offenses were on fire. Like these defenses could not stop a runny nose for like the first 2-3 quarters. Like it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. 35-28, 35-35, and then in the end, in the fourth quarter, the Ole Miss offense kind of ran out of gas. And that's when Georgia was able to not only close the gap, but then overtake them and ended up running away with it in the end. So they ended up winning by 8, I believe, in the end. And it was a really good game, though, a classic, like a classic game that you could go back and watch and be very entertained. Ole Miss definitely can go stride for stride with Georgia. Like when it just comes down to the pure talent on the field, forget the coaching and everything else. Ole Miss is right there with Georgia. Like they can go pound for pound, round for round with Georgia. Like they have no problem with that. I saw it. They can compete in the trenches. They can compete on all skill positions. They are right there. So this is not a talent disparity in this game. Um, Coaching. I mean, Lane Kiffin not being there was such a big story, yes. But I was waiting to see how they performed against Tulane to determine is it actually going to affect them in the playoff that much. And I know it's Tulane. It could have been against better competition, yes. But everything that Ole Miss did in that game shows me that I don't see them. I don't see how they missed the step. I don't see how they missed the beat at all. It looks like the same Ole Miss to me. The way that offense was humming, the way that defense was playing in that game, coming after the Tulane quarterback all day long. I don't think this Ole Miss team is hurt by Lane Kiffin not being there. I think this is the same team, same players, and I think that they are going to play the same game. So I don't think coaching is going to affect Ole Miss anymore. I don't have the Lane Kiffin thing being a factor for Ole Miss anymore after seeing their performance. So I just think it's just going to be a toe-to-toe heavyweight matchup. And the fact that Ole Miss barely missed out on the win earlier on in the season, I think they're going to be extra motivated to avenge that loss and upset Georgia. Also, using your logic with the whole bye week, sometimes the bye week can almost hurt a team versus help them, because they get a little rusty and they haven't played in a while and whatnot. Well, if you apply that to this game, Georgia is coming off a bye week, and you go back to last season, Georgia was in the same position, the number three seed. They had a bye week last year as well, and they also lost their first game against Notre Dame. So we've already seen Georgia be hurt by the bye week. So using last year as evidence, and then the fact that they're right back in the same spot. Ole Miss is coming off a tune-up game. They were able to warm up and able to work out any kinks they might have had and whatnot, and able to get a real live practice on getting ready for Georgia. I think the momentum is on Ole Miss's side right now. I see Ole Miss coming into this game and just punching Georgia in the mouth for the entire game. Not saying Georgia's not going to punch back, but I think Ole Miss finds a way. So give me the Rebels, man. I think it's going to be a shocker. And It's going to be a really good one too, though. It's going to be a really good one, just like the first time. But I just think Ole Miss just does a little bit more to come out with the win here and get to the semifinals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. All good points. I mean, but I still, I'm going against my own logic here, where, like I said, you play a team for the second time, it's hard to beat them a second time. Well, by that logic, I should be picking Ole Miss.
Right, you said that as well. Yes.
Yeah. So I know I'm going against my own logic, but I think this one is might be the rule to the exception. So I still want to take Georgia, just because I think Georgia comes back cleaner this game. They're more well rounded, and yes, they did have a bye week, but I think they're just such a well coached team with good talent. I don't see that affecting them as much as other teams. So that's all my final point on that one.
And I'll just say one more thing because on the Georgia side, we've seen Georgia be, like I said earlier on in the call, like they're looking like that old Georgia that we used to know that was just dominating college football year after year, 12-0, 12-0, national championships year after year. They're starting to look like that team again, especially in the latter part of the season. But something that we may have forgot about Georgia is that every now and then, they're pretty solid, but every now and then they play a game where you're just like, what's going on with them? Like what's going on with Georgia today? They don't look like themselves. And a lot of times that game comes against Bama, right? Where they run into their kryptonite. Well, we haven't seen a game from Georgia like that in a while. In the latter part of the season, they were starting to put together some really good games and not really looking like the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the fragile Georgia that they look like sometimes. But if you go back earlier on the season, when you go back to games against Auburn, which they barely won, according based off a bad call, I believe it was that they barely escaped that game. They barely beat Tennessee because Tennessee missed the game winning field goal with time expiring. I mean, we've seen Georgia put up some stinker performances every once in a while, and I feel like they're kind of due for a game like that. I don't want to say that they're due for a game like that, but every now and then Georgia puts up a stinker, and they haven't done that in a while. And I don't know. I'm smelling. I'm getting a fishy smell that they could put up a dud in this game. Not saying they just don't do anything and they just get blown out or something, but like just not their best performances. Not clicking on all cylinders. The defense might be lacking, or the offense might be lacking, or they're committing too many penalties. Just one of those ugly games that Georgia plays every once in a while. And even though they win a lot of those games, they find a way to win. But you're going against a real big dog now, and if they put a game like that together in this one, I don't think they're going to come out a winner. I don't think it's going to be enough to beat Ole Miss. So they're going to have to be on their A game. That's all I want to say. Georgia's going to have to be on their A game because if they put up one of those Georgia stinkers, I don't know. They could be in trouble. So I'm very excited for this SEC showdown, though, and I think it's going to be a really good one either way.